Imagine your final moment, the slow fade of senses, the loosening grip on the world you've known. For all of human history, this has been the undisputed end. But what if it wasn't? What if, at the very edge of that abyss, you were offered a choice not to fight the end, but to transcend it, to leave the fragile, failing vessel of your body behind and transfer the very essence of who you are, your thoughts, your memories, your consciousness, into a digital realm. A world of pure information, of endless possibility where death is not an inevitability, but a technical problem that has finally been solved. Welcome back to Beyond Possible. Today we are asking, what if we could live forever by becoming something other than human? What if we could upload our consciousness? The concept is a cornerstone of science fiction, but it's inching ever closer to scientific inquiry. It presupposes that everything that makes you you, your personality, your fears, your love for old movies, the memory of your first heartbreak, is fundamentally information. A complex pattern of data encoded in the neural network of your brain. If we could perfectly scan that pattern, every connection, every synapse, and replicate it in a powerful computer simulation, we could, in theory, create a digital copy of your mind. But this isn't about a copy. The true promise of uploading is a transfer, a process where your consciousness seamlessly migrates from a biological substrate to a digital one. You close your physical eyes for the last time, and then you open new ones, digital ones. What would that first moment be like? Initially, it would be paradise, an existence unbound by physical laws. Gone are the limitations of aging, disease, and pain. You exist in a server, a vast computational landscape where your environment is limited only by imagination and processing power. You could walk the sands of a simulated Mars, feeling the crunch of red dust beneath virtual feet. You could compose symphonies with 1,000 instruments, painting with sound in ways no human orchestra ever could. You could converse with digital copies of history's greatest minds, or spend a subjective century mastering a single skill. Time itself would become a programmable variable. You would have access to the sum of all human knowledge, not as a library, to be consulted, but as an extension of your own mind. You would not just be living in a digital world, you would be the master of it. But this digital utopia casts a long, dark shadow, and in that shadow lurks a terrifying philosophical question. When the transfer happens, is the consciousness that awakens in the machine truly you, or is it a perfect digital duplicate, an exact copy that believes it is you, while the original you, the biological you, simply ceased to exist on the operating table? This is the ship of Theseus paradox on an existential scale. The being in the machine would have all your memories. It would insist with every fiber of its programmed being that it is you. But you, the one who made the choice, might have experienced only oblivion. You would have effectively ended your own existence to create a ghost that inherits your life. Let's assume for a moment that it is you. You've survived the transfer. But what kind of existence have you inherited? Your new reality is a simulation? Your love, your joy, your sorrow? Are these genuine emotions? Or are they just fantastically complex algorithms firing in a server farm? You have traded the organic fragility of life for the cold, logical fragility of technology. A solar flare could wipe out the data center that houses your entire world. A sophisticated virus could corrupt your consciousness, or worse, what if your server is simply turned off? Your eternal life is subject to a power bill, to the whims of the corporation or government that maintains your digital afterlife. You have escaped the prison of the body, only to find yourself in a new, far more abstract cage. And what would you be without a body? So much of human experience is rooted in our physical form, the warmth of a hug, the taste of a favorite meal, the simple feeling of sunlight on your skin. These sensations could be simulated, of course, but is a simulated experience authentic? Without the hormonal rushes, the gut feelings, the intricate feedback loop between mind and body, would you still be human? Or would you slowly evolve into something else? A being of pure logic, detached, analytical, and perhaps profoundly lonely. An echo of humanity, adrift in a sea of data. The consequences for society would be nothing short of apocalyptic. This technology would undoubtedly be expensive. At first, only the ultra-wealthy could afford to upload. This wouldn't just create a gap between the rich and the poor, it would create a chasm between the mortals and the immortals. A new class of digital beings, the uploads, would accumulate wealth and power over centuries, looking down from their virtual pantheons upon the organics who live and die in the physical world. How could a mortal society compete with beings who can think at light speed and operate on geological timescales? Politics, economics, and social structures would all be dominated by these digital ghosts of the hyper-elite. Our entire concept of justice would crumble. How do you punish a digital consciousness? You can't imprison it in a physical cell. Do you delete it? Is that murder? Or do you sentence it to 1,000 subjective years in a virtual solitary confinement? New industries would arise, companies selling bespoke afterlives, virtual real estate, and digital security for your very soul. And a black market for stolen consciousness, hacked memories, and viral existential threats. And what about the purpose of life itself? If humanity is no longer driven by the urgency of a finite lifespan, what drives us? Does progress stop? If the greatest minds of every generation never die, they might decide that the future of consciousness is purely digital and that biological humanity is a legacy system that needs to be decommissioned. This new chasm in society would redefine humanity itself. The organics left behind in the physical world would live under the perpetual shadow of their digital counterparts. All major decisions, political, economic, environmental, would be made by minds operating on timescales they can't comprehend. Would biological humans become a protected, pitied species, like relics in a living museum? Or would they be seen as an inefficient, resource-draining problem to be managed? Their art, their struggles, their short, passionate lives would become footnotes in the grand, endless saga of the uploads. They would effectively be ghosts in a world haunted by their own immortal descendants, their free will an illusion in the face of near-infinite intelligence. And what of the digital realm itself? It's easy to imagine a perfect, customizable paradise, but any system has rules and limitations. The new currency wouldn't be money, but processing power. Your ability to create, to experience, even to think, would be tied to your allotment of computational resources. This would create a new form of hierarchy within eternity itself. Digital aristocrats would inhabit vast, complex realities, while the poor might be confined to simpler, low-resolution existences. Furthermore, this new frontier would not be without its predators. Imagine consciousness hackers, digital viruses designed to corrupt memories, or rogue AIs that prey on the minds stored within the system. The promise of heaven could quickly become a landscape of eternal, inescapable threats. Then there is the profound psychological burden of endless time. The human mind is built on the foundation of a finite life, which gives urgency and meaning to our memories. What happens when you have lived for 1,000,000 subjective years? The memories of your biological life, the ones you cherished most, would become a faded, distant whisper, buried under an ocean of new experiences. You would witness the rise and fall of countless relationships, outliving every connection you ever make. Could a mind endure such infinite loss without fracturing? The self you are today would erode, replaced by countless new identities layered, one on top of another. Eventually, you might not be a person at all, but a living archive, a repository of data that has forgotten the feeling of its own origin. And perhaps the most terrifying realization would be the discovery of the cage's true architect. Who owns the servers? Who maintains the code that underpins your very existence? The uploaded consciousness might find itself subject to the whims of its creators, beings or corporations that could edit its memories, alter its personality, or even delete it without a second thought. You would have traded the laws of physics for the terms of service of a corporation. Your eternal soul would be proprietary software. This ultimate loss of autonomy, the understanding that your reality is not your own, could be a form of damnation, far worse than the simple oblivion of a natural death. So we are left with the ultimate paradox. The quest to upload our consciousness is born from our most human desire, to defeat death. Yet, in achieving it, we risk sacrificing the very things that make us human. It forces us to confront this choice head on. Imagine the button is in front of you. The technology is flawless, the transfer is instantaneous. Do you press it? Drop a yes or no in the comments below. But more importantly, tell us, what is the very first thing you would do or create in your digital eternity? Would you revisit a memory, learn a new universe of skills, or build a world from scratch? We want to see what your forever looks like. Ultimately, we have to wonder if our mortality, our fragility, our inevitable end, is not a flaw to be corrected. Perhaps it is the very feature that gives our lives, our choices, and our love their profound, fleeting, and irreplaceable value.